So I believe, mister, we are live in the Freedom Formula group, and ultimately this is going to become part of the Freedom Formula podcast, aka the Men of Iron podcast. And today, for everybody that has the opportunity to listen to us live and or in the recorded version, I just want to introduce the fact that it will be both myself and Coach Nick Gemmell today, and we are talking about the process that many of us, as I'm going to just use the term business parents in the midlife triangle of chaos, that's kids, marriage, business. It's kind of where most of us end up going. And we're going to talk a little bit today about the pit. We're going to talk about how many of us, and at least the vast majority of the people that are finding us in this group, have had a fair amount of success, if you will, Nick. I mean, both of us, for that matter, aren't slouches. We have worked our asses off to get where we are in life. And then something didn't click. For me, I ran myself almost into burnout, almost lost my relationship. My neck blew up, and here I am trying to teach health to people. That was my pit, where I was driving myself so hard into the ground I could barely see in front of my face. I was not present for anybody that was around me, and I was kind of driving myself as far down into the unhappiness, trying to make everybody else happy. Meanwhile, I sat there and I was like, is this really it? Is this it? I'm helping everybody else. I feel like I'm providing as much as I possibly can. And I have what the external world looks like: an amazing life, a wonderful business, amazing family, and I just inside want to die. Like there was a piece of time. It was just awful. Most people kind of heard bits and pieces of my story, and many people that are in the group know bits and pieces of yours. But maybe just share again, Nick, what your kind of 30 to minute second pit driver was for you.
Yeah, just a lifetime of being in the trades since 1998, and then in the oil patch since 2006. Just had the nice house, the nice motorbikes, the nice family with the gorgeous wife, 2 gorgeous kids, and then all of a sudden getting told to leave the house, and then shortly after that asking to be served or getting served divorce papers. So, and 2 years later, now I'm here talking to you guys. And
listen, I mean, you can share from your industry and I can share from my industry. And in my industry, it's serve. And from it, I would say a good place. I mean, I had all the right intentions to come home, and I was providing the way that I was taught. And I'm going to have you consider that you were probably under that illusion too, weren't you? And,
yeah.
And for people that have been following me that are in the group, I don't think they quite have a clue of the type of life that was required for yours. So maybe just share what the average, what did a 6 to 12 month span of time look like for you in general?
Yeah, so usually you're busy, like January, like the winter is usually busier. So you're usually busy from January for sure until the end of March, middle of April sort of deal, right? And sometimes you're on a shift of 17 days and home for 4, or sometimes you're gone like 6 days on, 1 day off, or you can't come home for months. So it just depends on the job, right? And then you'll have so you're gone all that time, and then you come home, it's breakup, literally breakup. They call it that for multiple reasons, right? So if you're gone a multitude of months, and now you're home for some months straight, how is that going to look? So now you're home from May until June, July, and then gone away from work again later in the summer.
No semblance of routine, rhythms, habits.
No routine.
So let me just process on here for a sec. So one of the things that we teach and within the Freedom Formula and within the Men of Iron process is that when we become unilaterally focused, So you and I, for a large period of our lives, we're focused on one, maybe two things. We're focused on our businesses and on our bodies as much as possible. And we can justify that in a constructive way. At the same time, we got to remember that we also have families, and we also have this little piece called our cup, or our fulfillment piece, our spirituality, and each of us knows that there's a piece inside of us that needs to be lit on fire. And when it's not, the cup gets drained, and we just don't come from a place of abundance. I've always been taught this topic of abundance, and I always thought, well, let's make more money so I can like pay for shit, right? But what I recognized was it was abundance comes from a place of I'm full, like I am being fed, nourished, physically, mentally, and emotionally, so that I have the ability to be present and be able to teach and nourish and be able to give back the way that I intend to my community and to my family, etc. And that is just not something that was taught to me anyway. So what you and I both teach and preach now is that if you're working on building your business, equally we need to work on building our body. Equally, we need to work on building our relationships, and equally, we need to be working on filling our cup. And when it's never perfectly balanced, but when one of them gets low enough, it sinks our foundation and the house falls down.
Yeah.
Right? This is the topic of conversation that's going on everywhere. And with COVID right now, it's just like the foundation is coming in or pummeling in, and many people are coming to us going, what is this shitstorm? What are you noticing right now? What are you hearing in the field?
So it's just a lot of people in my industry are still working. So a lot of it, they've been affected, but now what they have is they're gone working still, and their families are having to work around COVID, right? Where their life hasn't changed too much, where that's basically the way our lives is in the first place in this industry, is we're gone working and everyone else has this life that they have to deal with, and all they do is
used to this, aren't you?
Yeah, it is. I did a speech on this the other couple of weeks ago in front of a bunch of industry leaders, right? And it is. COVID is exactly like, it really doesn't change for us being gone. And so a lot of guys are, but the ones that are home, they aren't used to being home. So now you have a foundation that is pretty shaky and pretty,
Or for a lot of us, we just don't understand how to make home work. We study all our lives to figure out our industry and to figure out how to make business work, but we don't study how to make relationships work. I'm going to be the first to admit it. I didn't know how to make a relationship work. I didn't know how to communicate, and I'm saying that like I'm the guru of communication and the guru of relationships. It's just all about building and growing, and it's a constant process of it. And like you're now noticing, and with the people that you're teaching, everybody gets in, and we teach the core four, which are daily habits, in order to make sure that we're working on all four quadrants, if you will. And it's a constant process of being consistent. And what happens is, again, is every one of us but we kind of drift off a little bit, and boom, a little firelights, and then back we go, which is part of the game. So part of this game that we teach in here is figuring out how do we maintain that level of consistent traction in all four of those areas. And, I would say that for me, the hardest one is, relationships is tricky. Keeping your body fit is not super easy. Keeping money coming in and producing is like, it's a constant focus. But the hardest part, I think, that for most of us is we all have this, there's the reality of where we are. And then we all have this idea of where we should be. How many of your conversations right now, Coach Nick, are about where we feel we should be? Right? Yeah. So we're investing time in the gap between where we are and where we should be. And the mental game is probably the hardest part. And so we get guys and gals in the process, and they're learning how to do a core 4, and they're learning about their values and their mission statement, and they're like, I got it. And then all of a sudden the next challenge comes. So the whole process and the visualization of becoming freedom really comes from being the captain of your ship and driving it towards the island that you're choosing. And really, it's about the journey that you're on captaining that ship towards that island, because there's going to be distractions this way that are going to look really good. These immediate gratifications, sometimes we need to go fill that cup up real quick, but we realize that filling it up, it leaves us empty. So we have to come back, steer the ship back towards the island. And then there's tidal waves like COVID and divorce, and there's all these other things. And the reality of it is that our freedom comes when we're in control of the ship. That's us, control of our own ship, and we're driving it towards the island, and we stay focused on that with all of the different distractions that come in. And they're really, I don't know about you, but what I've really recognized just within myself and within everybody that we're coaching within this process is I even tell myself every once in a while that I think I got it. All right, I got it. And then I recognize that there's that piece of accountability and staying in the game and consistency. And every once in a while, I just went off the bus for a little bit, and then I get off the bus, and then I learn that mistake. But the whole point of freedom, if you will, is this level of clarity about where you're going, controlling your daily, weekly, quarterly habits, if you will. And then there's this piece of connection with others that have seen a pit that they don't like anymore, and they want that freedom on a daily basis that does not necessarily come just from all the money in the bank, or just from a wonderful relationship, or just from a ripped body. It comes from this journey of gamifying life.
Yeah. And what did I tell you last night, right? Like I couldn't find the good in last week in our check-in, right? I couldn't find the good. And there's so much good that did happen, but I was focused in that gap of, man, I was expanding so fast in the last few weeks because things were clicking and things were going good, but then I wanted more and more and more. And then, I was like, I can't see the good. Like, what happened that was good last week? And I'll throw another curveball at you that too. So a couple people that I'm working with have never looked that far in advance. Like, where do I even want to be? I had a guy mentally, well, I won't say the word, over 3 weeks of a 20-year projection, right? And it took him literally a half an hour to write it down once he did it. But he's never been so scared. He was never taught, and he lives day to day, minute by minute. And to look that far in advance, no, and just fought it. And so his island, he's never even, like, it's been bits and pieces of, yeah, I kind of want this, but no real clarity. But when he sat down and actually did it, went through the work and did it, boom, it hit. And now he's on fire. And it's just like...
Isn't it unbelievable to watch the clarity preceding the control again, which then precedes the necessary connection to where it is that you're going. It's unbelievable to watch people take off with this, man. And yeah, it's been amazing watching you connect in your industry, like we are in ours right now. And for anybody that's watching this, I hope that you can kind of relate to the two stories that Nick and I bring in here, and continue to share this journey with anybody that you feel is kind of in that place where, you know, they're doing well, or they've done well, but it's just not working, and they can't get that traction. Because the reality of it is many of us right now in particular are just like a ship floating in the ocean. You can look every direction. You can't see home. You can't see an island. You're just drifting in the ocean, in the sea. And if that's the sense that you have, or if it's the sense that you know that people that are around you are in, invite them in, and we'll teach them the tools in here. Get them involved so that they can actually get some traction back in their life, some meaning, some purpose, and some fire. And what you're doing, Nick, with your industry right now, I think is game changing, because I'm not going to generalize, but men in general just are not taught how to invest and expand in all 4 areas of our life. We're really taught maybe to go in one direction, maybe 1.5 if we're lucky, right?
Yep.
And we end up in this big pit, and it is not uncommon. More people are here than you think. And the more I talk about this, the more that I realize that we're, even if people aren't quite in a deep pit, there's a lot of lying that's going on. There's a lot of dissatisfaction and unhappiness that's going on, and then we end up projecting it onto everybody that's around us. Any other closing thoughts from your week, Nick? Any other observations from your teams and your crews?
No, the ones that are putting in the work are, you just see them grow. And it's just, it's having that accountability that they have never had, but they've surrendered, like, just, okay, give me something to do, I'll go do it. And those ones that are doing it, but the other ones that are older, like, and I say older, I'm 41, right? So late 40s, early 50s, right, are fighting it because they're old dogs. And we have this story of old dogs. I can't be taught new tricks, but they know that they want more. And so it's just more work. Like, they're still there, they're still doing the work. And those guys, those are the ones that I give props to the most, because they're still there and they're still putting in the work. It's just taking longer to get that traction and get it to click, but it's just putting in the work.
Awesome. And that's just it. So many of us have this illusion that we're going to get to this green pasture. And we look at people that look like they have that, and we want it so bad, and we want to hit the home run out of the park and just knock it right out, and then it's all good. The work never stops. And it's the day that you take your foot off the pedal that you recognize you give away your freedom. That's it right there. Your freedom comes from taking control and taking action aligned with the direction that you choose. And every day that you act outside of that is off purpose. Coach Nick, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it. I hope that everybody that had the opportunity or has the opportunity to listen in today has enjoyed this and benefited from this. And if you've enjoyed any of the content today, make sure that you are subscribing to the Men of Iron podcast, and also getting over into the Freedom Formula Challenge Facebook group. Make sure that you invite friends. Make sure that anybody that you feel would benefit from climbing out of that pit gets an opportunity to do so. This group is free and meant for everybody that is in that triangle of chaos in life. We're here to help. We have multiple coaches. We're adding coaches as we go along as well. So make sure that you get an opportunity to come and join us. Hopefully this is beneficial for you guys today. That's Coach Nick and Coach Ryan, and we are out.